welcome to Council Agenda. I'm Dan Gindel. Council Agenda is a show short here on WMCT-TV, and it gives councilors an opportunity to come in and talk to us for a few minutes about their ward or the city at large. And today we have Ward 7 Councilor Don Landers. Councilor, thank you for being here.
Well, it's great to be here.
It's good to see you.
I've looked forward to this for the last week since we set the date.
Well, that's good. Usually people don't look forward to spending time with me.
Yeah, well, I love to talk about the great city of Marlborough. I've been involved with it through the school department in 2 years, almost 2 years on the council.
Right.
And even though I'm not a native, I've lived here almost 50 years, and I think it's a great city, and I think there's a lot of neat things that go on in this city.
Yeah, we'll get a chance to talk about that,
Great.
But the first thing I wanted to talk to you about is that you pulled papers to run in Ward 7 again. Why do you want to still be on the city council?
Well, first of all, I've really enjoyed my almost 2 years on there. It's something I wanted to do as soon as I retired from the school department, which, by the way, Dan, will be 8 years this Saturday.
Is that right?
I retired on my 60th birthday, August 8th, and it's gone by like that. You know, I took a couple shots at running for city council, and I did get elected 2 years ago. And I can honestly say every aspect of that council job I've enjoyed. I enjoy the meetings. I go to most of the subcommittee meetings. I enjoyed being on the finance committee because that was really my primary job with the school department, assistant superintendent for business. I like the ward part rather than that large, because it's very similar to how I operated with the school department. You know, you get those calls that pertain just to Ward 7, and usually I return that call right off, or I even go down to the site, and people love that. And I found that 30 years ago when I was principal and vice principal. You get back to people, you visit, you see what their problem is. You can't always resolve it right away, and I like that part of it. And you don't always have that at large. So. And then, as far as, it wasn't much of a learning curve, being with the school department, being the assistant superintendent for 13 years, we went to many council meetings. The budget was always somewhat of a battle then, and it's been a battle right along.
Still is.
Because I'm on the other side now, But I enjoy that part. I understand labor relations very well. I understand contracts very well. I understand the financial piece, the bonding. And an interesting point, I only bring this up once in a while, back in 1990, I was on loan from the school department to the city hall when Mike Hogan was mayor, running their financial department down there. So that was kind of interesting way back then.
Right.
But then I decided to come back to the school department, and I stayed there, another 11 years, and that's it.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it. I enjoy, this past week I've gone out and got 80 signatures. You only need 50. And what I usually do is I pick people that I don't always deal with, and it gives me a chance to talk to them. Unfortunately, I think it takes me about a half hour per signature, so it's taken me about 10 days. But I like that part of it. I like to get out and meet people. I'm around town a lot. I go to a lot of events, and people will come up and we'll start talking, and I get a good feel of what's going on in the city and what isn't going on in the city.
That's good. Now, you specifically mentioned before we taped tonight, you wanted to play the PR role for Marlborough tonight. So let's talk about, first, let's start with the senior center and what's available to seniors in the city.
Let me just preface that, and I think the reason I mentioned that to you, when I was with the school department, oftentimes I'd get that telephone call on a late Friday afternoon, and a family was coming to Marlborough to maybe move in, and they would call. I'd be the only one there. I'd pick up the phone, and they'd say, "Tell me about Marlborough," and I would start telling them about all the positive things, all the assets we have. And I think that's what I want to kind of do tonight, talk about some areas that I think really make us number one. All these ratings are going on in Massachusetts across the nation, and I tell you, we're second to none. You take the senior center, Council on Aging. I do go up to the meetings there because I'll be 68 on Saturday, so I qualify because they basically cater to people over 60. But I think Amy does a super job. I was talking to her today, and I've talked to them a couple weeks ago. They service well over 2,000 people. They're talking about that they really service more than half the, might you say, the elderly in Marlborough. And the programs they do, are not just the trips to the gambling places and the the Red Sox games, but they get into different type of clinics, different type of speakers coming in, law, financial, and they do a wonderful job up there. And I'm up there enough where I bump into people, and they think that they're getting wonderful service there. And as far as the living part, it's 240 Main Street, and that's 250, But I think that's an asset. I think it's a plus that we know enough to take care of our senior citizens.
Now, let's look at the sports complexes in Marlboro, new and old. What kind of a positive effect do those have on the city?
I think it's a plus, and I love it. For instance, when I was down the Cape last summer, I ran across a woman that runs an ice cream stand at Brewster, and we just started to talk, and she was telling me that she had a long ride ahead of her. She was bringing her son up to Marlboro at the New England Sports Center for his figure skating lessons. Well, I says, I come from Marlboro. And I love saying that it's way, 130 miles away, and someone was talking about coming all the way up here to New England Sports Center. And I've spent a lot of time there. I had a son that played a lot of hockey over the years, and he ended his hockey career by captaining the hockey team at West Point. So I've been to probably every rink east of Air Force Academy and as far south as Huntsville, Alabama. And I tell you, that's one of the finest complexes I've ever seen. Yeah, and talking to Wes, they're busy. The Boston Skating Club has joined forces with them. And of course, I grew up in Watertown. That was always a big club down there in Brighton. They host a lot of international and national skating shows, fundraisers. He told me an interesting thing, two things. Between 9,000 and 10,000 games a year there. But the most interesting thing is a lot of high school games there. 10 high schools use that rink for their home rink.
Wow.
Most interesting thing, and I think this is going back to my old days when I was chairman of the board at the chamber, 29,000 nights, room nights they call it, have stayed at the different hotels in Marlboro this past year.
That works.
I see it. I see
Yeah.
it. I see it all the time when we go out to some of these places on a Sunday morning, and you can tell hockey players,
Yeah.
But I think that's a real asset. Of course, I wasn't on the council when Fort Kick was approved, but I think that's going to be a similar site. I did spend some time touring it last spring, just before it opened, and I was out there a couple of weeks ago, and that's a wonderful. They gave me some stats. It's 26 acres. It's hard to believe.
Yeah.
Three surfaces inside that they can go from playing lacrosse to soccer to basketball, golf. Then, of course, the outside, they have 2 regulation fields there. And what I like about them, I know they're going to really be part of the city. They've been letting the high school teams use it last spring when we had all that bad weather. Of course, the charter school, they're happy as could be. They're using that as their phys ed facility. And he was telling me one of the directors out there that coming up at the end of August, they have sports night. They're inviting all the kids in Marlboro under 15 out there for a sports night. They were able to use all the facilities and pizza and stuff like that. So I think it's great that they're getting right involved with the city. So I think those complexes, and of course the other athletic complex I'm looking forward to, I went to the groundbreaking, is the Olympics headquarters, which I understand will be probably open October, November. I think Sue Lieber told me probably the ribbon cutting will be November. I think that's an asset. Yeah. So to wrap it up, I'd like to be able to be somewhere and they say, oh yeah, that's Marlboro. We have Fort Kick. We have the New England Sports Center. We have the headquarters for the Olympics. I love that.
That's good.
That's me.
Yeah. Well, sticking with the sports theme for right now, you've always been a big promoter and supporter of youth sports. So why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I was the first treasurer of Marlboro Youth Baseball.
Is that right?
That was before I had children. I had just got married. They were forming a new league, Marlboro Youth Baseball. And my brother Bob and a lot of people in town, Don McElman and Dick Williams. So they wanted someone that didn't have children, was going to coach, that would be on the executive board and also be treasurer. Well, that was me. I always thought my brother volunteered me. But I got involved there. And then as my kids got older, I coached Little League for 6 years and Babe Ruth for 6 years. So I had 12 years of coaching, and at the end, they were the best days of my life. But that's quite a complex out there. I was out there last week because right now, as we speak, there's a tournament going on, and they have teams from Maine, Rhode Island, Connecticut, and I think they wrap up to 6. I think that's soon. And the complex is so impressive. It goes back to when there was one field. I used to take a personal day, take my tractor out there and get it ready for opening day. And they have 3 fields out there, and they are beautiful. And I have to give a pat in the back to the Parks Department. They really do a wonderful job.
Yeah.
And, that's William Street, but also the complex out at Stevens Playground. They get their 2nd field there. We used to play down behind the middle school, Babe Ruth, and that complex is wonderful. And of course, girls softball has really taken off. And look at the complexes they have down at, we used to call Farrell Field, but it's Hildreth School area there. Yeah. And I think it's paid dividends because our softball team is doing very, very well.
Yeah.
The girls, and baseball has done well. They had an off year this year, but I am a supporter of youth sports. I mentioned before, I was on the board when they went from Marlboro Youth Hockey to Triborough, and that's when the numbers were going down. And as I say, my young guy Mike came through that and ended up playing at West Point. So he had some good coaches, I guess, but a lot of dedicated people.
Yeah. Well, we are coming towards the end of the program, so get those pom-poms up high, Don. What last thing do you want to talk about as far as assets in the city of Marlboro?
Of course, I'd love to talk about the school, but that would take hours and hours. We do a separate program. I think we got a great school. It's a comprehensive high school. I think they do an excellent job. But the other things we have, we have these physical setups. We have the Marlboro Country Club. We have Memorial Beach. And I can go on and talk about all these nice things we have. But Dan, we have something that not every community has. We have a group of individuals and organizations out there that they work nonstop for this city, for the people of the city. You talk about the Evening of Giving. In all my years, I have never seen something of that magnitude. People working hard. I'd like to name names, but I know I'd leave a lot of people out. Yeah. But there are key people on that. But they work so hard on that. I think over 1,000 people show up. I haven't missed one. The food is unbelievable. All the restaurants chip in. I can go on like that, but it's not. And then basically, it's for a good cause.
Right.
We go back to Roland Seymour, and Simino,
Yep.
and his wife Joan Rice, and there I'm naming names, but I could go on. But that to me, that represents Marlboro. But it expands. You let some family have a tragedy. I don't care whether it's a fire or a youngster is sick. It's unbelievable how people rise for the occasion.
Yeah,
open their
city
wallet,
rallies around each other.
And those are the things. And I tell people, boy, that's Marlboro. What it is. And it's not just the old timers or just the new timers. It's a mix. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And so those are the things that I think I'm proud to say that I'm almost a 50-year resident of Marlboro, that I worked in the school department for 30 plus years, and I'm on the city council.
Well, Don, thank you for taking time to
thank you very
come
much.
and talk to us
I
on Council
really
Agenda.
enjoyed it, and thanks for the opportunity.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Yeah.
This has been Council Agenda. I'm Dan Ginden. We'll see you next time.